What unfolded on the latest episode of Love and Hip Hop Miami was the kind of chaos that reality TV rarely manages to capture so authentically. It wasn't just drama, it was accusation layered on suspicion, heartbreak colliding with betrayal, and families unraveling under the weight of secrets that refused to stay buried. Viewers watched in disbelief as Allan's wife and mother pointed fingers at Amara La Negra, blaming her for an arrest that seemed to explode out of nowhere and shake the entire storyline. At the same time, another emotional storm erupted on the other side of Miami, where Rada Darling confronted Michael over a pregnancy scandal that blindsided her at the worst possible moment. The episode felt like a collision of two worlds, one drowning in legal turmoil and generational pain, the other collapsing under the pressure of betrayal and broken promises. And by the end of it, fans were left asking the same question: how did everything spiral so far, so fast? It all began with a conversation that viewers initially thought would be simple tea, a little mess, a little gossip, the usual Miami energy. But Miami Tip's meeting with Allan's wife Yina took a sharp turn into territory no one saw coming. Yina arrived with receipts, or at least documents she claimed were receipts, a supposed contract between Allan and Amara, one that allegedly outlined an agreement to pretend they were romantically involved for the show. According to Yina, the storyline of their engagement, the grand gestures, the proposal, the emotional scenes, were all part of a scripted narrative designed for cameras. She insisted the romance was never real, not even for a moment, and that Amara's pregnancy happened during a break between her and Allan, a break she claims was manipulated into a storyline to benefit the show. But the way she spoke, the way her voice trembled with both certainty and frustration, suggested this wasn't just reality TV tea. This was a woman feeling like her entire life had been twisted into entertainment without her consent. As viewers processed the claims, the conversation online became a wildfire. Some fans didn't believe the alleged contract for a second, saying the storyline always felt too messy and too dramatic to be orchestrated. Others said the contract explained everything: the suddenness of the romance, the confusing timeline, the lingering awkwardness that never seemed to go away on screen. And then there were those who didn't care whether the romance was real or scripted. They were more focused on the emotional toll this chaos seemed to be taking on everyone involved, particularly Yina, who appeared tired, frustrated, and exhausted from carrying a story she claimed had been mishandled for far too long. But as dramatic as those receipts were, they paled in comparison to what happened next. While Yina was still venting her frustrations, her phone rang, and what she heard on the other end of the line immediately changed the mood in the room. A loved one informed her that Allan had been arrested. The air shifted instantly, and the conversation that had been simmering suddenly began boiling over with panic and suspicion. When she managed to speak to Allan, he told her outright that he believed Amara was behind his arrest. The timing, he said, was too convenient. The location, too specific. The sudden reopening of a case that had apparently been cold for years seemed almost strategic to him. And Yina, already on edge and emotionally raw, agreed. She insisted Allan traveled frequently, lived his life normally, and had no legal issues. Until, she claims, he began filming with Amara. The whispers started immediately. Social media went into investigative mode, dissecting the events frame by frame, looking for clues in scenes, interviews, and interactions that might suggest whether Allan's suspicion had merit, or whether it was simply grief, frustration, and fear, talking in the heat of the moment. Some fans pointed out that reality TV has a way of exposing people to unexpected scrutiny, which can sometimes bring dormant legal issues back to the surface. Others felt the timing was too coincidental, too dramatic, too aligned with filming schedules to ignore. But while everyone online debated theories, Yina's world was collapsing, and the only thing she seemed certain about was that her family was being dragged deeper into chaos than ever before. Things escalated even further when Allan's mother, Marta, entered the picture. And her accusations were even more intense than Yina's. In a conversation filled with emotion, disbelief, and palpable frustration, Marta voiced her suspicion that Amara not only had something to do with Allan's arrest, but had also been using witchcraft against him. The moment was shocking, dramatic, and deeply personal, and viewers could see the tension written all over her face. She pointed out that Amara was at the airport at the exact time Allan was detained, which she believed was more than a coincidence. She said the energy around her son had shifted since filming began, and she didn't trust the circumstances or the people involved. Her emotions ran so high that she even said she was willing to step away from her own grandchildren, if that's what it took to keep distance from Amara. Rumors swirled instantly. Some viewers blamed editing, saying the moment was exaggerated for entertainment. Others claimed Marta's fears reflected real cultural beliefs and generational trauma that often come to the surface in moments of panic. Some argued she was simply a mother desperate for answers, trying to make sense of a situation that felt chaotic and unfair. Regardless of interpretation, one thing was clear: Allan's arrest had shaken the entire family to their core, and everyone was looking for someone to blame. And in their eyes, at least for that moment, that someone was Amara. But while one half of the episode was soaked in legal tension, accusations, and emotional unraveling, the other half delivered a storyline that was just as explosive, but driven by betrayal instead of fear. Away from Allan's ordeal, Ching Diamond tried to find a quiet moment of clarity. She spent time at her sister's home, trying to de-stress as she processed her pregnancy and the unstable future that lay in front of her. Her relationship with Marquez had become a roller coaster she was no longer sure she wanted to ride. One moment, he treated her like his future partner. The next, he doubted the paternity of their baby, backpedaling into uncertainty that pushed her away emotionally. She was tired of defending herself, tired of explaining herself, tired of trying to hold together a bond that seemed to be unraveling thread by thread. When Ching finally confronted Marquez, the conversation was painful, emotional, and filled with the kind of vulnerability that makes viewers feel uncomfortable because of how real it is. Marquez admitted he was conflicted, confused by comments from friends and outsiders who kept feeding him doubts about the pregnancy. Ching reminded him that she believed wholeheartedly the baby was his, but she was still willing to take a DNA test if that's what it took to bring peace into their relationship. She didn't want to raise a child with someone who was unsure. She wanted stability, honesty, and loyalty. 3 things she wasn't sure Marquez could give her anymore. And watching her speak through tears made viewers feel her exhaustion on a different level. Meanwhile, another story was brewing, one that fans had been dreading for weeks. Rada Darling, heavily pregnant and emotionally drained, confronted Michael with allegations that left the entire cast and audience stunned. According to rumors circulating in the episode, another woman claimed to be pregnant by Michael. The scandal erupted after a DM surfaced, confirming a side baby that Rada feared but hoped wasn't real. When she finally sat down with Michael, her pain was undeniable. She broke down, feeling betrayed, humiliated, and overwhelmed with stress she should never have been carrying while pregnant. But what shocked fans even more was Michael's response, which seemed far more casual than the situation required. He tried to downplay the issue, tried to justify it, tried to convince her that adding another baby to the family wasn't the end of the world. But for Rada, it wasn't about the child. It was about the betrayal, the broken trust, the destabilizing blow delivered at the worst time imaginable. She felt blindsided by a man she trusted, a man she envisioned building a future with, and his inability to grasp the severity of her hurt only pushed her deeper into confusion and heartbreak. Fans watching the scene reacted in real time, flooding social media with frustration, sympathy, and disbelief that Michael couldn't see how deeply the situation had shattered Rada's spirit. Later, when Rada and Michael headed to the airport so she could be induced, the emotional distance between them felt like an entire ocean. He tried once again to lighten the mood by playing a song he had written for their baby, hoping the gesture would soften the tension. But the look on Rada's face said everything. She was exhausted, drained, scared, and completely disconnected from the man sitting beside her, a man she wasn't sure she could trust anymore. Michael, for the first time, seemed to realize how close he was to losing her, not because of the pregnancy, but because of everything that came with it. Throughout all of these storylines, the episode carried a heavy sense of unraveling, marriages crumbling, families breaking under pressure, relationships suffocating beneath secrets and rumors, and the emotional intensity extended into the reactions from fans, cast members, and insiders who provided commentary online as the drama unfolded. Some viewers criticized Yina and Marta for blaming Amara without proof, calling the accusations extreme, exaggerated, or fueled by hurt rather than evidence. Others sympathized with them, saying grief and fear often lead people to conclusions they might not reach with a clear mind. Some rooted for Ching to walk away from Marquez, insisting she deserved peace and stability. And many viewers rallied behind Rada, calling her one of the strongest women on the show for facing betrayal, while preparing to bring a child into the world. Insiders also chimed in, hinting that more details about Allan's legal situation may surface in upcoming episodes. Some suggested the reopened case might have nothing to do with Amara, but could instead be the result of routine checks triggered during travel. Others argued the timing was suspicious enough to raise questions, especially when combined with on-screen tension that had been building between Allan and Amara for months. But the truth, the real truth, remains buried somewhere between storyline editing, cast commentary, and private conversations viewers will never see. As the episode came to a close, viewers were left with more questions than answers. Is Allan's arrest truly a coincidence? Or is there more to the story? Will Rada stay with Michael after everything she has endured? Or is she reaching her breaking point? Is Ching strong enough to walk away from Marquez for good? And will Amara confront the accusations that continue to swirl around her name, or choose silence as her shield? The chaos, the heartbreak, the accusations, all of it sets the stage for a season that promises to dig even deeper into wounds that may not heal anytime soon.